Can you provide a physics-based explanation for why a person's voice pitch becomes higher when they inhale helium and start talking? In other words, why does a person's voice change when they inhale helium gas? And if you breathe helium, you know why your voice sounds high?
Helium it's lighter than natural air, okay. So why does that make them higher though? Is it just how it like reverberates around your chest, or
how it reverberates? I'll give you the $5. Okay. It's lighter than air. The speed is quicker in a lighter medium, and so then the wavelength changes in such a way that you have a higher frequency. If you inhale helium, your voice is higher than if you just talk regularly. Can you explain why that is?
No, I cannot.
Okay. Nothing?
No.
Why is your voice at a higher pitch if you inhale helium?
I mean, the speed of sound is going to change depending on medium. I think it goes by bulk modulus over density.
It's what?
Bulk modulus over density or something, the square root of that or something like that. So then as the density decreases, the speed of sound will increase. The same frequency of beating in your throat will lead to a different wavelength. And as that goes out, is that really enough? I think you'd probably go a little bit more detailed than that, but
that's an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
You can go. I wasn't expecting more detail. That's an acceptable answer. The longer wavelengths, you actually apparently your answer is correct. Yes, that's right. You excite more than one frequency. Actually, apparently.
Okay, gotcha.
And so the longer wavelengths won't resonate. And so the shorter ones will resonate, and you'll have a higher pitch voice. But your answer is 100% correct.
Interesting. So it's like a second harmonic that we hear as like the pitch. Okay.
Second harmonic. The answer is sound travels faster in helium than it does in air, which is made out of nitrogen and oxygen. When you inhale helium, your vocal cords still vibrate at the same frequency. The frequency of your vocal cords doesn't change. What you need to do is you have to model your throat as a pipe with one. What you do is you model your throat as a pipe of fixed length, one end open and one end closed. Then the wavelength of the standing waves are fixed, and that's based on the length of your throat. The wave equation tells us that V equals lambda F, so the velocity in nitrogen is equal to the wavelength in nitrogen times frequency, and the velocity in helium is equal to the wavelength in helium times frequency. The two frequencies we're assuming are the same, and therefore for the same frequency, and we know that the velocity of a wave in helium is larger than the velocity of a wave in a nitrogen, then the wavelength of a helium wave for the same frequency would be larger than the wavelength of a wave in nitrogen gas. Higher harmonics resonate more strongly than lower harmonics. The low frequency component of your voice is still there, but it's much quieter than the high frequency component. Here's a picture of what I'm talking about. If we model your throat as a pipe with one end open and one end closed, then the wavelength of the waves are fixed by the length of that pipe or your length of your throat. And so the fundamental frequency, the first frequency that produces a resonance of sound in your throat would be the frequency that corresponds to a wavelength of 4L over 1, where L is the length of your throat. The first overtone, or the second frequency that would resonate within a pipe of length L, is equal to 4L over 3, and then the third overtone is 4L over 5, and so on. When helium is used, a given frequency would result in a longer wavelength, causing the fundamental wavelength to become long. In picture A, this is the wavelength of the wave that would fit within the pipe. If this wavelength is produced by a frequency in air, then when that pipe is filled with helium, the same frequency would produce a different wavelength, and in fact the wavelength would be longer, and the wavelength would no longer fit within the pipe for the given boundary conditions, and you would not have resonance. And so in the case of a helium-filled column instead of air, the frequency that would meet the box boundary conditions and create resonance would correspond to a higher harmonic. So the lower frequencies would still be there, but they wouldn't resonate within your throat. And the higher frequencies would resonate within your throat because The higher frequencies would correspond to wavelengths that would actually fit in your throat if your throat was filled with helium gas. Why is it generally considered safe to eat rare or medium rare steak? But if the same meat is ground into hamburger and consumed rare, there's a higher risk of bacterial illness, necessitating thorough cooking to well done when you're cooking a hamburger but not a steak.
I'm a vegetarian, but
Okay.
let me guess. I'm gonna guess that the surface area to volume ratio, so the larger thing, is my guess, but I don't really know enough about like what the size is. So the surface area of the steak would probably be larger, so getting in deeper and deeper. But I don't know what the cuts are or anything like that.
But if you were to eat a hamburger rare, you should have a hamburger well done.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any idea why that's the case?
Now this is something I know more about.
Okay,
yeah.
good. All right, so what's great.
It's because the bacteria gets on the outside of the meat.
Yes!
So when you cut it up.
All right. MIT students are smart, everybody. All right, let me give you some money. Okay, you made it through the questions. Okay.
Deposit photo music.